This is about defending democracy. This is no longer Democrats versus Republicans. What do you want your kids to believe in? There must be give and take.
This is White Flag with Joe Walsh.
I've always been a pretty strong believer in individual responsibility. I've always generally believed that who we are and what we become in life is dependent upon what we do. We're responsible for what we do. We're responsible for our actions. I know that, look, in a free society, everybody is born in a different place. People are born with certain advantages, but you want to make something of yourself. At the end of the day, white, black, or brown, at the end of the day, no matter where you're born, no matter what level you're born at, if you want to make something of yourself, it's up to you. You're responsible. You fuck up, you screw up, you're responsible. Individual responsibility, this edict, this ethos of individual responsibility, to me, is one of the most important principles in this country. In a free society, in a country that values freedom, in a country that values freedom, individual responsibility is one of the most important principles a free society can hold. We are responsible for what we do. We are responsible for what we become. We are responsible for our sins, for our mistakes, for our errors, for when we fuck up. And this notion of individual responsibility has always been paramount on the right. I come from the right. Former Tea Party congressman, former right-wing media guy. Man, I preached about individual responsibility a lot, right? I've always believed in, and we do on the right, we did individual responsibility, freedom, individual responsibility, and limited government. That was the mantra: freedom, limited government, and individual responsibility. The right, and I was on the right, we preached incessantly about individual responsibility. When a young 19-year-old black kid, south side of Chicago, didn't do what the cops told him to do, and he got shot and injured or killed, everybody on the right would say, look, he's responsible for his actions. He didn't do what the police told him to do. It's sad and regrettable, but it's his fault. And I would say things like that because I believe that if you're pulled over by the police and you don't do what the police tell you to do, you're going to be responsible for what happens to you. If you're pulled over by the police and you actually go after the police and shoot the police or do whatever, you're going to be responsible for what happens to you. Individual responsibility, white, black, or brown, no matter what we are. And the right, again, this has always been their mantra. Every young black gangbanger, brown gangbanger, white gangbanger in this country, when they fucked up, individual responsibility, everybody on the right would say, that's them, that's on them, they screwed up, they messed up, that's their fault. Individual responsibility, the right says, with everybody, the right says, except for Donald Trump. Isn't that fascinating? This principle that the right has always professed to hold dear, to hold aloft with paramount importance, applies to everybody but Donald Trump. Isn't it funny? Just cracks me up that the only guy in the country that the right doesn't believe is responsible for his own actions is Donald Trump. The right abandons the entire notion of individual responsibility when it comes to Trump. Every charge against him, not Trump's fault. He's the victim of the deep state. Every indictment, not Trump's fault. A weaponized government is after him. Every Trump crime, every stupid, ignorant thing Trump says, not his fault. The media hates him. He's always the victim. Trump tried to get the D.C. judge recused because she's said some things that he doesn't like. And his recusal request was turned down yesterday. So right away, Trump says, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. It's never his fault. To Trump's supporters and Trump's followers, nothing is ever his fault. He's not individually responsible for his actions. Isn't that pathetic? The right, which has always held individual responsibility so sacred, not sacred with Trump, doesn't even apply to Trump. How weak. Trump commits a crime, Trump's accused of committing a crime, and it's not his fault. The deep state is after him. Donald Trump is a victim. He's the most persecuted person in human history. Nothing's ever his fault. He's never to blame for anything. He's never to take responsibility for anything he did. It's always somebody else's fault. What a bunch of hypocrites. What a bunch of cultish cowards and hypocrites the right has turned out to be. They don't believe in individual responsibility, or rather they do when it's some 17, 18-year-old black kid on the south side of Chicago. Then they believe in individual responsibility. But when it's a 77-year-old white former president, no, not his fault. He's not responsible for what he did. What a bunch of hypocrites. What a bunch of cowards. I'm Joe Walsh. This is White Flag with Joe Walsh. Hope you're having a good week. Thanks. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow White Flag with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been White Flag with Joe Walsh.